Sheriffs and Marshals, the Enforcement. August 4, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. The offices of sheriffs and marshals are split into two kinds and two venues, land and sea. Sheriffs and marshals operating on the soil and land jurisdictions are peacekeeping officials. Sheriffs and marshals operating in the maritime and high seas jurisdictions are law enforcement officers. See the difference? Peacekeepers v. Law enforcement. Public v. Private. Land v. Sea. Sheriffs of both kinds work at the county level. Marshals of both kinds work at the federal district level, only one works in the Postal Districts, land, and one works in the U.S. Districts, sea. They are intended to work together for the common good of the people of this country and of the country itself, but thanks to greed, graft, and commercial corporation self-interest, these offices have been misunderstood, misdirected, and misinformed. Land jurisdiction marshals used to be called federal marshals as opposed to sea jurisdiction marshals who were called U.S. Marshals. Both are operating in international jurisdiction, both operate in districts, but the peacekeeping officials are operating in a public capacity and the law enforcement officers are operating in a private capacity. The run-amok members of the U.S. Congress have sought to phase out the federal marshals by leaving them unfunded and forced to serve as volunteers. This circumstance led the United States of America Unincorporated to rename and recommission these public peacekeeping officials as the Continental Marshals Service in 2015, in an effort to draw the line between land jurisdiction and sea jurisdiction and to make it clear that these men and women are serving the land jurisdiction of this country and are here to enforce the constitutions in behalf of the lawful government as peacekeeping officials operating in international jurisdiction. The public officials outrank the private corporate officers, but in the absence of public peacekeeping officials, the private officers enter the vacated office of county sheriff and act as both kinds of sheriff until the public office is reoccupied. As a result, many so-called county sheriffs are not actually functioning as county sheriffs. They are simply federal corporation franchise employees considered dual citizens by the federal organizations, who have the option to enforce the law of the land, or not, as they see fit. This gives them almost god-like usurped power, until and unless the people in the factual county wake up and 1. Prevail upon these men to do their actual intended duty, or 2. Reclaim their own birthright political status, hold their own elections, and elect their own county sheriff to serve specifically in the actual public office as an elected peacekeeping official. This usurpation of our public offices, both the county sheriffs and the federal marshals, by privately owned and operated commercial corporations and their employees is a violation of our constitutions at all levels. It occurred without disclosure and under conditions of semantic deceit, resulting in the entire process being tainted by fraud, and also without any valid authorization. County officials at the time that this corporate takeover occurred, circa 1965–66, were lured by federal kickbacks in the form of block grants and never told the consequences of their actions. Those few individuals who knew what they were doing committed both treason and fraud. Now is the time that we all have to deal with the consequences and exert ourselves to straighten the resulting mess out. All across this country, sheriffs, whether they are acting as peacekeeping officials or as law enforcement officers, are waking up. They are beginning to enforce the public law and to defend Americans from unlawful asset seizures, unlawful arrest, and other crimes contrary to the constitutions. They are beginning to quietly take up positions in the backs of courtrooms, and their presence has proven sufficient to keep the judges honest. The enforcement of the actual public law of this country has quietly come back into view, and as it does, conditions will improve. Do everything you can do to educate your county sheriff whether he is acting as a law enforcement officer or as a peacekeeping official. And when you meet a Continental Marshal, realize that this man or woman has taken up a most difficult and challenging duty, and is voluntarily policing the land jurisdiction of this country directly under the auspices of the United States of America. If the county sheriff fails to protect your persons and property, it is the duty of the Marshals Services, both the Continental Marshals and the U.S. Marshals, to protect them and enforce the constitutions. See this article and over 1900 others on my website here, www.annavonreitz.com. To support this work, look for the PayPal buttons on my website.